Well, welcome back to the radio room. Just thought I'd do a quick update. I'm still not finished with a few things on the Drake 2C, but I figured I'd kind of bring an update to how far things have gotten. Pretty much gotten most everything cleaned up, dust and stuff cleaned off of it. I've gone through and cleaned and lubricated all the potentiometers and switches. I've tested it a couple times. Doesn't seem to really be working any better than it was in the prior video, but I thought I'd bring to mind a few things. First off, let's see if I can get this in the camera view right. Let me switch camera and adjust some stuff here just real quick. Down on this board here, I've already changed out the two 1000 microfarad capacitors, and I've also changed out the 8 microfarad capacitor. It's been replaced with a 10 microfarad, so it'll have possibly a little bit more filtering. Let me see if some light will help that just a little bit. Oh, not really that much. So I did want to bring up some other things. I still got a few more capacitors to change out, and they're kind of the hard ones. You can kind of tell I got a lot going on the workbench right now. So this board right here, get this up where it needs to be. So this board right here is the one that I've changed those caps on. I've changed 3 caps out. I've also changed the filter, the main can filters right there. Flip this over, it's all nice and shiny now. You can see the new filter cap, or can cap in there. Those 3 caps. The next ones that I need to change, it took a little hunting to find them. I've got a 10 microfarad at 15 and a 200 microfarad at 15 that I still need to change. And there's also a 4 millifarad electrolytic at I think it's 150 volts, 200 volts, something like that, that needs to be changed. I think I found those. The kit I got doesn't exactly tell you where they're at, so you got to go find them. The 10 microfarad is way down in there. I'll show you those on the schematic. I actually been studying the schematic quite a bit over the last day or so. I'm trying to find them all, and in the 200 is right there. The 4 millifarad, or microfarad, microfarad capacitor, I couldn't ever find in here. There is not a 4 microfarad capacitor in this whole receiver. Not there. So let's go to the schematic real quick, and I'll show you where they are that I have found. I finally found all 3 of these. So the 200 microfarad is right here. That's the one that's the bigger one that's on that one board, and that board's going to be fun to get out. I'm actually going to have to unhook a bunch of other stuff. There's pretty stiff wires going to some switches and stuff that I've got to be able to get down behind the board down in here to get to one of the bottom ones, and I don't think there's going to be enough room to get a soldering iron down in there and still get to this one, just because of the fact that there's a tube socket right there. So I'm going to have to pull this board out. There's some screws in there, but just because you get the screws out doesn't mean these wires, like right here, aren't going to let me lift it up or move it, or even, I can't even lean it over at that point because of these right here. So I'll have to undo those. It's going to be a bit of work right there. And then, of course, there's one way down in here, which I might be actually able to unsolder, but I don't know if I'd ever be able to get it out of there. It'd be pretty difficult to get down in here and unsolder it, but even more difficult to pull it out right there. So back over to the schematic. Here's the 10, or the 200 microfarad at 15 volt. We're going to be putting the 200 microfarad back in there. However, the kit I got, that one's listed, but the folks I bought it from apparently didn't put it in the box. So, I don't have a 200 microfarad capacitor, but I do have 200 microfarad capacitors with at least the same voltage rating as the 15 right here. I can probably put some 16 volt in there, or I do have two 100 microfarad 25 volt capacitors. Either one would work. But I'll just parallel those in there. They're not axials, they are radials, but I believe there's enough room in front of the board that I can still get it in there and make it work okay. They're not very big. Let's see here. The other ones, the 10 microfarad at 25 is right here. And it's part of the, it's on the audio amp portion of the radio. So I'm kind of wondering, maybe this one's down a little bit, and maybe we'll get some more volume if this is dragging it down. I did do one check to find out what the case voltage was on the 4310 transistor, which is the final audio amplifier. It's supposed to be 12.6 volts. It's only reading about 11.5 volts. So I'm thinking maybe that's one reason why we don't got very much volume, is because that voltage is down. The voltage, let me find it here, that feeds it, it's 12 volts here. But when I get to the case here, it's not. So there's either something going on in between there and here, or something is dragging down the voltage right in this area. So it could be this resistor. Maybe that resistor has increased in value over time, and I might have to check that. Or I'm wondering if it's pulling more here. Maybe because this is leaking a little bit, so there's current when it does come on. So let me see here. Just looking at things here. That's 10 volts, so that might actually be pretty close. But I'm still wondering if this might have a little bit of a problem. It's kind of dragging down the audio amp or something. So that's the next one we have. Now the 4, there's only one 4 microfarad capacitor in this whole receiver, and it's right here. It's actually connected to the S meter circuit. It's on the, I guess you could say, it's on one side of the meter, and it basically connects right to a wire that goes to the meter. What I'm guessing it's there for is probably to keep the needle from being so erratic. Kind of slows the needle down a little bit, and maybe gives it just a little bit of hold, so that if you're looking at the S meter, especially on sideband, it might hold just for a second, so you can kind of see the peak reading there. There is, like I said, there's not a 4 microfarad capacitor in this whole radio. In this radio. But I did do some tracking down and some tracing out and everything. And right down here, there is a capacitor that, by everything I can find and tracing stuff out, that's the capacitor right there. Now this capacitor is exactly the same type as this capacitor. And I'm kind of wondering if these maybe aren't original. they're a different brand than these other filter capacitors I pulled out. I mean, this one's exactly the same, and it's an 8 microfarad. See right there, 8 microfarad. So I'm wondering if somebody else had changed this one out before. I don't know whether maybe the previous one was bad, or if maybe this has been recapped before. But that's supposed to be 4 microfarad according to the schematic. Now, I have had an interesting time with the schematic. I've found 3 different schematics that are 3 different schematics. So far, the one that I just shown on the screen seems to match this radio the closest. I'm not finding too much that's different aside from this capacitor. So I'm going to replace that capacitor. I'm going to put the 4 microfarad in there. My belief is that if it does do anything different than having that one in there, the meter's just going to be a little more active. You know, if you're on a sideband, it might actually move a little bit more instead of just kind of lazily going back and forth. And maybe what the previous owner of this radio liked that. He just wanted a nice lazy meter. I'd rather it show me something. Because with the higher capacitance, some of the energy that's going to move the meter has to charge this capacitor. So you lose that energy, it's not going to go to the meter, so the meter's going to be a little more lazy. So we'll get that one out. That one's going to be fun to do as well. These 2 boards are both, well, you got to undo stuff to get to them. So we'll get to those. But so far, the radio, I mean, it's clean. We got some filters changed. I did do some testing yesterday and this morning, and it's not really receiving any better than it was before. But it does seem like it's playing a little bit better since I've changed the main can caps and these filter caps on the power supply. It seems like it's playing a little bit better. I was noticing yesterday I could tap on the chassis and it would make static bursts as I was tapping it. In fact, I was taking a plastic paintbrush handle and was just kind of going in here and kind of tapping on stuff to see if maybe that would get something going. And it didn't matter if I tapped here, tapped here, tapped here. About the only place it didn't do anything is if I tapped right here. But I just lightly tap and you could hear me tapping through the speaker. In fact, all I'd have to do is just rub this across the chassis and that vibration was making static in the radio. It doesn't do that now. So hopefully that's an improvement. Hopefully whatever the problem is, maybe I was temporarily and intermittently fixing the problem when I was doing that. But I'm kind of wondering if maybe there was a capacitor that was starting to go bad and just that vibration was changing something in that capacitor, was sending it through the rest of the radio. We'll find out. But like I said, still got this one to do and got 2 of them on this board to do. And then we'll fire it up and see what's going on then. Maybe the radio will come back to life, actually hear something. If not, I guess we're going to just keep on looking to see if we can figure out what's wrong with it. Try to do a little bit of signal tracing through it. This is one of those few times I wish I actually had a literal signal tracer. But it doesn't even seem like it's, at this point, it doesn't even seem like it's getting signal into the radio. Now, whether it's not making it into the radio or it's getting to a stage and it's stopping completely, I don't know. I don't have any spare tubes for this radio, so if it is a tube that's the problem, I guess I'll have to look for one. See if I can find some. And I'm really hoping it's not one of the transformers having a problem. One of the tuning transformers. Either in the mixer or the RF stage or RF amp stage or anything like that. I don't know if I could ever get a hold of any of those again. But like I said, just a quick update. The radio is pretty much clean. About halfway through doing the capacitor recap, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we're going to get some more life out of this radio when we get the caps done and get stuff hooked up, antenna and whatnot, and maybe it'll come to life and we'll actually hear some voices come out of it. So just thought I'd give you all a quick update, and we'll see you next time.